Hello, everybody. My name is Dan Skipout, and this is the 52 Must-See Movies and Why They Matter. And once again, joining me this evening is Chance Ellison. Chance, how you doing this evening?
I'm good. It's glad to be back on the show. I always love coming and talking movies to you, man.
Hey, I'm glad to have you. You really add a lot of good insight. And this is a movie that was on your list, a movie that you nominated. And what we're going to be talking about this evening is Pulp Fiction. Just let me know what made you decide to choose this movie to be in your nominations of why should we talk about this movie.
I'm a huge fan of Tarantino. He's one of my favorite directors working today, and one of my favorite directors just period. I think the dude's like immensely talented, and I think this movie encapsulates what I love most about Tarantino in that it really feels like someone like a director who just loves the art of cinema. And this is my favorite of his movies, so that's why I nominated it in the first place.
I completely understand. A lot of people, not only you, but a lot of people love this movie. And this came out in 1994, which is a slam-packed year for great films. We don't want to get into that.
Oh boy.
That's another whole thing we could get into, but we're not going to do it here. This is about the love and discussion of one movie in particular, and that's Pulp Fiction. And what an amazing cast in Pulp Fiction. You have Bruce Willis, and he plays Butch, a boxer. You have Christopher Walken, who plays Captain
Coots. Captain Coots.
Coons. He's only in it for a very short time. Ving Rhames, who plays a character you hear a lot about, but you don't see as much as you hear, and that's Marcellus Wallace. Tim Roth. All depends how you want to what you want to call his character. He goes by a couple names in the movie, but also we have Eric Stoltz is in the movie. Of course, we have Vincent is John Travolta, and Jules is Samuel L. Jackson, and we have Mia, portrayed by Uma Thurman. We have the Wolf, otherwise known as Winston, played by Harvey Keitel, and of course, the film is directed by Quentin Tarentino. Discuss what are your thoughts about this cast? I mean, that's just. I haven't even named everybody. There's cameos in here. There's cameos of Semi, Kathy Griffin. There's some cameos. If you watch it really closely, you'll see some of these cameos.
This cast is just absolutely stellar, and I think this kind of like Quentin Tarantino through his career he's had a knack for both igniting and reigniting careers, and I think it kind of started. Well, it's our Reservoir Dogs, but he kind of like pushing spades right here because like this movie, this literally like launched the careers of both Sam Jackson and Uma Thurman. Like they both got Oscar nominations for their roles in this film. And I think, yeah, you can clearly see why they're both fantastic. And it's also reignited the career of John Travolta because at this time, he wasn't really seen as the leading man anymore. He had a couple duds. But then this came along, and this kind of got his career back on track till he derailed it again. But that's another discussion for another day. But yeah, no, this cast is phenomenal, and yeah, you got Bruce Willis, you got Ving Rhames, who are both amazing. Like this is kind of like the epitome of like there are no small parts, only small actors, because like you have some really great actors in in parts that only go like maybe like 2 or 3 scenes. And they're still acting, they're still doing great performances, and everyone looks like they're having the time of their life on this shoot. Which, like, I think that often shows another one of Tarantino's talents. Like, he's a real actor's director.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, if you're an actor, you love working with Tarantino because of the dialogue. He gives you a lot of meaty dialogue that you can chew up, and that's what these specifically people like Sam Jackson and John Travolta really chew up the dialogue in this film. They really have some great lines in the film. We're going to talk about some of their lines. But something that really caught my eye right off the bat was the the definition for the word pulp. I just thought, I was like, well, you know what? That's kind of moist, shameless, massive matter. That's definition 1. But definition 2 is the one we're looking at right here. Okay. A magazine or book containing lurid subject matter and being characteristically printed on rough, unfinished paper. That second definition really tells you what this movie is about right from the get-go. You don't even have to see a single scene, and you get the definition of what this movie is going to be about.
Yeah, that whole definition, that just sets the scene. That pretty much like sets you up for what you're about to see. You're about to see some very like lewd subject matter told from a very interesting filmmaking perspective. And I think that's what stands out most. We'll get into that later. But yeah, I think that whole definition at the beginning just perfectly tees you up for the movie you're about to watch.
And of course, we start off with the diner. We're in this diner, and we get Tim Roth character and his girlfriend, and they're talking about a bank robbery, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they say, "You know what? Let's do a hold up of the diner." So they decide they're gonna do a hold up on the diner, and we get the song afterwards. Now this is a framing sequence. We don't come back to this sequence until the end of the movie. So we see this, and then we're like, "What? Hey, what's going on?" You know. So what do you think about the beginning of the movie, which is basically the end of the movie?
Yeah. You don't really end until until for a long movie. Yeah, this whole scene starts off, and you get this couple talking. It's Amanda Plummer and Tim Roth, who like you never get their names in the movie, but they still have so much personality in the short amount of time you're with them on screen. They play a couple. They're robbers, and yeah, like you said, they're talking about a robbery. They're talking about how somebody apparently robbed a bank by calling and telling the teller, or like the bank manager, that he had a little girl, had his daughter, I think it was.
Yeah.
It was telling me he had his daughter, and said like, drop the money off here or I will let her go. I was like, I don't know, there was a little girl, but it worked. He essentially robbed the bank with a phone, and you know, that showcases another one of Tarantino's talents. Like, he is able to build character by just having a conversation. It's a random conversation that it's the perfect conversation that these two people would have at this exact moment. But he used that to, you know, build and establish character, which is why I think that that dialogue is just so compelling. These actors or directors just deliver it so well that, granted, they're not talking about anything that advances the story just yet, but because of the way it's written, you're sucked in and you're completely invested.
Yeah, and the movie just started. That's what's crazy about it. And then
Yeah.
Then we get Jungle Boogie, which is the music of the film is another character in the film. The songs show up at the right times for specific characters and specific scenes. And we got Vincent and Jules driving in a car because they have to go do a job for Marcellus Wallace. And they talk about, of all things, cheeseburgers and what cheeseburgers are called in France. And of course, we get that famous scene. A quarter pounder with cheese in France is a Royale with cheese, and a Big Mac is La Big Mac.
La Big Mac.
And what they put on their fries is mayonnaise, which is absolutely disgusting to me.
They're not going to try it, but I had a roommate who was from Holland once, and that's what he did. But but talk about the music real quick. People don't really notice in this film that there's no real score. It's all soundtracks, and it's all like music being played. Like, it's all music that's being played like within the movie. Like, it'll be like on a stereo or like in a car, or the music will be coming from somewhere. And yeah, the music it's the soundtrack. Like many Tarantino movies, it's a character in the film. And yeah, like we get introduced to that dynamic between Vincent and Jules early on, And yeah, the dynamic between the two of them, they have just great chemistry. You completely get the sense that these are two guys who have just known each other for a long time. They've been, they have their whole dynamic. They have like their ticks, they have their quirks, and you can just tell that like these guys are, even if they didn't work together, they'd still probably be friends, just because the two just work off so well with each other.
Yeah, they really do. You're absolutely. I mean, they have such a stick go with one another. It's like everybody else is on the outside looking in on their own shtick that they have going with each other. It's kind of funny sometimes. Of course, they get to the apartment, and it's an apartment with some guys is loafing around, laying on a bed on the floor, one on the couch, one's just sitting there eating his big Kahuna burger, and that's Brad. And they have to kind of be tough guys, and they have to kind of give Brad a hard time because Brad has something of Marcellus Wallace, which we have not seen Marcellus Wallace yet, but they have something that belongs to him, and it's a briefcase.
Yeah. Wait, is it Brad or Brett? I always thought it was Brett.
Brett.
It is Brett. Okay.
Yes.
So, yeah, you essentially get you get like right before us, we get a nice little conversation about a foot massage, and this is something I like that they do in the beginning at this juncture in the film. Like they build up characters. The way they build up characters in this film is actually really well done. Like, I stole a story. Vincent is going to be taking out Marcellus Wallace's wife. Now, based on how they talk, you can tell Marcellus Wallace is someone very important, and you can understand that because they talk about how he had a dude thrown out a window to crash through it's like a glass greenhouse. But I lost my train of thought. Yeah, and nice talk about foot massage, which that's very classic. You don't know anything about it, look it up, kids. But yeah, we keep going, and when we get in here, like these guys, they're hitmen, and you completely tell like they're professionals because they don't got to do anything, they don't got to raise their voice, they can just stay calm. They have all the power in this room, and you feel it as soon as they walk in. And yeah, they're looking for this briefcase that we don't know why these guys have it, but apparently it belongs to their boss, Marcellus Wallace. And like throughout the entire movie, you never find out what's actually inside it, which I think is just really interesting.
Which, if you're a fan of Roger Ebert, which I'm sure you are, but I'm a huge, he's like a hero of mine growing up. I would say the briefcase is a MacGuffin. What do you think about that?
It is. No, it's absolutely a MacGuffin. Like it is like classic, like textbook MacGuffin. It's just something that everybody wants. You don't exactly know why, but it's like a classic textbook example.
And then when Vincent opens it up, it like glows. And then later on in the film, somebody opens it up and it glows, but you don't know what's in there, but it glows. It's interesting that they got it to make it like glow like that. That was like, oh, which makes, I guess it makes it that much more important because it's glowing. I don't know.
Yeah, like it makes it from an audience perspective, it makes it really interesting because like your imagination starts going. You're like, what could be in there? Like it's something that as soon as you open it, it starts glowing, which it has so many possibilities that you're just as an audience, as a viewer, you're just watching, and you just, even after the film is done, you just puzzle as to what this whole thing was all about.
And it was the guy on the couch. His name was Brad, not the guy that Sam Jackson
was Brad
was talking to was Brett, but the other guy's name was Brad. And now I'm going to leave this to you. We have, first of all, I'm going to say, we want to talk about this. We have two of the most iconic scenes, and I should have looked this up on AFI's 100 greatest quotes of all time, but he's talking to Brett, and Brett keeps saying what, and he asks some other question, what, and then he says, say what again, mother beep, and of course, that's an absolute classic scene in cinema. Say what again, mother.
The whole scene between Jules and Brett, that's one of the most quotable scenes of the entire movie, because like that's the scene where Jules just gets like super, like he's already intimidating enough, but that's where like he really like kicks into high gear because he keeps asking questions and he's so flustered he doesn't know what to do, so he just keeps saying what. He's like, okay, say what again. And he points a gun like, parents like, if you say what again, I will shoot you. And he does it. He asks him the question. He's like, what? Pops a shot off in his arm.
Yeah.
And that's when you know, like, that's when you really know, like, oh, okay, these guys mean business. And
Oh yeah, they really mean business. But then is the one I mean, this. But at the beginning of this movie, there's so many just memorable quotes and scenes. But this is the one that everybody knows. And I'm going to leave this one up to you because I'm sure that you have this memorized. Ezekiel 25:17 passage, Chance. I'm sure you know this passage.
Oh yeah, I do. So it's the path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by hold on, by the inquisities and I always forget this one part. Yeah, the inquisities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who, in the name of charity and goodwill, shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper, and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee. And then he just blows Brett away.
Yeah. That scene is one of the most memorable scenes in movie history, and it only came out like 25 years ago, but we never, I don't care who you are, you will never forget that scene. That scene is incredible scene. Talk about that scene. I'm sure that it means a lot to you as a fan of this film.
Yeah, no, that scene, that is the most badass anybody will ever be reading the Bible ever. And yeah, like that scene wouldn't have worked with anybody else other than Sam Jackson. Like you actually read the story about this movie, fully auditioned for a role in Reservoir Dogs. He didn't get it, but he actually met Tarantino later. He's like, I'm writing a new movie, I'm writing a new part just for you. And you can clearly tell because this role, this is what people point to when they think of Samuel L. Jackson, because this epitomizes what he can do as an actor.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could point to some of the great dialogue scenes in movie history, but that scene right after the what scene, it's like they're like back to back scenes, and it's like, wow, how can this guy have this much? And it's the dialogue, it's the script, it's in the script. And Quentin Tarantino does that. He gives his actors that kind of really great dialogue to speak to. All right, so then we go to another scene, and this is of Bruce Willis, sitting down at a table with Marcellus Wallace, and he wants him to throw a fight. He wants him to go down in the fifth. He gives him an envelope full of money, and he basically says, "Yeah, I'll do it."
Yeah, and they're still building up the character Marcellus Wallace because you never actually see his face. All you see is the back of his head.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And we don't see Marcellus Wallace just yet, but
no, and they're still building up that character because like you could. That's another indicator like this character means business. But like, yeah, as soon as you shoot him, the film goes to black, and you're like, what happened? And you cut to something completely different, and then Jules and Vincent enter, and they're wearing completely different clothes, and you're just like, whoa, what happened? It's one of the many time jumps in this movie. It jumps over to, I want to say it's like a few hours later. Yeah, this is where we get the first interaction between Vincent and Butch, which actually does have some payoff later in the film. And this is where we kick off into one of the first story branches of the movie. It's is the Vincent and Mia storyline.
Absolutely. And he's buying some coke or heroin or both from Eric Stoltz's character.
It's heroin. It's heroin.
Heroin. And we see him shooting up heroin, and he cleans himself up, gets all dressed up, and he goes over and he picks up Mia, and she leaves a note for him on the door. Hey, just come in, make yourself a drink. I'm getting ready. I'll be there in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. Make yourself a drink.
Yeah.
Then we get the song "Son of a Preacher Man" playing.
Which, like, after seeing this, like, every time I hear that song, doesn't matter what I'm doing, what I'm watching, I'll always think of that scene of just Vincent walking around the house.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a weird, you go to pick somebody up and they leave you a note and then they're getting dressed, and we come to find out she's watching him on cameras.
Yeah, they have cameras in their house, which is just strange.
Yeah, that was kind of strange.
Although if your husband's a big time criminal, I guess it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And so she takes him to a place called, he's driving a red convertible. Which is an old red convertible, beautiful looking car.
Which he just took out of storage. They already talk about, hey, like, he literally had this in storage for several years. Then took it out and he got keyed. But yeah, like, he's driving this really nice car.
Absolutely, you're right. And she said she takes him to a place called Jack Rabbit Slims, and he's complaining, "This is the place. I want to go somewhere and get a steak." She's like, "Yeah, you can get a steak here." And of course, their table is of a Cadillac. There's a table inside the Cadillac, and they're being served by Buddy Holly, but Buddy Holly is actually Steve Buscemi. And she orders a $5 shake, and Vincent's like, $5 shake? That's milk and ice cream, right? She goes, yeah. $5 though? I mean, I can't believe it. A $5 shake. And she tells the story of Fox Force 5, where she's was in a TV show of a badass fighting group of girls, which now, watching the movie, I'm thinking, wow, wouldn't that be cool to do a movie just of Fox Force 5? That would have been neat.
Well, he kind of did. It's called Kill Bill.
Well, yeah, technically, I guess you're right.
Technically.
But yeah, talk about that stuff.
Yeah, no, like, this is a restaurant that if you're a film lover or just a old school pop culture lover, you'd want to go to, because just the design of this place, it's all like 50 decked out. There's a stage in the middle where, like, people come up and perform and stuff. All the tables are cars. They got, like, those little those not remote control, but it's like those electric, like, race tracks where, like, you squeeze the trigger and the car goes around. And you look around, like, all the waiters are dressed up. Like, there's a Marilyn Monroe. There's I can't remember who else. I think I saw James Dean. I had to have seen one. There's an Elvis, and yeah, that's where we get some scenes between Vincent and Mia. The two of them have really great chemistry. And with Thurman and John Travolta. Again, also doing parts of the dialogue, and it started off, like, whenever Vincent described this, he always said it's the same as, like, taking a wife's friend to dinner. Just enjoy the company. It's like, I'm gonna go out, treat her nice, open the door, laugh at her jokes, and then just be done with it. Like, he's just like, okay, you get the sense like he's only doing this because Marcellus Wallace has power and he's his boss, and he asked him and he just can't tell him no. And then he asked her about the whole foot massage story. If it's true, she said it's absurd, which, I mean, of course it is, because, I mean, no one gets thrown out the window because they give a wife a foot massage. And then we get to one of the most, like, out of nowhere scenes in the movie. It's a dance off, a twist dance off. Like me is just like, I want that trophy, so we're gonna get it there. We're gonna dance, because you can't have John Travolta in a movie and not have him dance at some point.
No, you're absolutely right. This is another, I mean, amongst the many iconic scenes from this film, this is another, just when you think of Pulp Fiction when you talk to people about Pulp Fiction. The scene with the song "You Can Never Tell" by Chuck Berry, and that dance is just I mean, John Travolta has some of the most iconic dances or like scenes involving music in in a lot of different people's careers. I mean, you know, Saturday Night Fever, walking with his lunch bag at the beginning of the movie. This scene, you know,
Grease.
Grease. Yeah, I mean, he's got some of the most iconic dance scenes. It's so weird how his career, maybe that was intentional on Quentin Tarantino's part.
Probably, but also like this is probably one of the most memorable musical dance sequences in a movie that is like not has nothing to do with music and is not a musical. And I think something that really adds to it is the fact that you watch it and throughout this whole dance, they keep the intensity in their face. Like you watch their face and they just look that like they're dancing, they're having fun, but their faces are just completely just deadpan, just serious.
No, yeah, absolutely right. Because he doesn't know if he should be dancing with Marcellus Wallace's wife, and she doesn't know if she should be dancing with him because he's not her husband. So it's kind of a kind of one of those deals where they don't know if they should be doing what they're doing, but they're doing it anyway, whether people like it or not. And then we get back to the house, and he's in the house. They're going to have a couple drinks or whatever, and she's in the bathroom, and unfortunately she does some coke and some snorting some coke, and she passes out cold on the floor, and she's basically Mia's basically dying of a drug overdose. So Vincent finds her and takes her to, I don't know why he took her to Lance's place. That's Eric Stoltz. But he takes her to Eric Stoltz. Turns out Eric Stoltz is like a kind of like a nurse in a way. He has some drugs and some stuff where he can help people. And what he does is he gives a needle with an adrenaline shot to Vincent. He's like, I can't do it. I can't stand needles. Da, da, da. He's a drug guy. He's a drug. He's selling drugs, but he can't stand needles and stuff. But he gives it to Vincent so Vincent could put the needle inside of Mia of adrenaline to bring her back to life from the drug overdose, which is pretty serious because you're like, oh my God, we don't want to see Mia die.
No, yeah, absolutely. And something I want to talk about before I talk about the whole overdosing scene is something I didn't notice the first time I watched it. Something I noticed like later. There's a scene that Mia has when they're still at the diner. It's just like, you know, you're really like, it's just something about uncomfortable silence. It's like, you know, you're comfortable with somebody where you can just take a second and just shut up. And before that whole thing happens, they share that uncomfortable silence. And it's hinting that the two of them attract each other, which I think hints at a deeper level of the film, which is like Mia is not, she's not really married to Marcellus because she wants to be. She's like, there's something else. There's another like level to that marriage that they never really get into this film. It's just implied that it's there, but I thought that was really interesting. And yeah, so Vincent goes off, which another thing you'll notice every time Vincent goes to the bathroom, something bad happens. This time it's Mia ODs because she confused heroin with cocaine, and she tries to snort it, which if you don't do that with heroin, that doesn't work like that. And yeah, and the whole reason she takes him back to Lance's place because, like, first of all, if Marcellus Wallace finds out about this, he's pretty much dead. Like, there's no excuse. Something bad will happen to him, and like he can't take her to a hospital because he would obviously find out there'd be some serious legal stuff going on. So that's, I guess, Lance the next logical place. And that whole scene with the whole adrenaline shot, a lot of people don't know, that was actually shot. The way it was shot and the way it was shown on film, it was actually shot in reverse because they didn't want to like risk accidentally doing any damage. So the whole scene was filmed backwards, and for the film they switched the footage. So we saw it front way, but it actually shot backwards, which actually I think is really interesting.
Oh, wow, that's kind of neat. I didn't know that. And I forgot to say that, of course, when Vincent got to the house, he crashes the car into the house.
Oh yeah, and that's like one of those most prized possessions. So like at this point, he just does not care about the car. He just wants to save his boss's wife.
Absolutely, yeah. You could tell how important she is because the car, he freaking doesn't care. He's freaking crashing that car. And then we go to a flashback scene of Captain Coons, like I said, played by Christopher Walken, and he's going off to war or whatever. He's coming back from war or whatever, and he gives his son in this flashback scene a watch. And
yeah, the story of the watch.
We don't know why. We're like, okay, Captain Coons is giving his son a watch.
Well, he explains why. It was his, I think, great-grandfather's watch. Or is his grandfather's or his great-grandfather's watch?
Great-grandfather's watch, yeah.
His great-grandfather's watch, which he was a pilot, his plane got shot down, and he was like, they were gonna take away his watch, so he had to hide it. The only place he could hide it is well, he had to stick it someplace not so nice. So then he passed it on to his son, I guess Butch's grandfather. He had to do the same thing, pass it on to his father. He had to do the same thing. Then he got dysentery, so he was gonna die, and so Captain Coons had to carry it until they got it back to. That's 4 people this watch has been inside. So this watch has been through a lot. It's very valuable to his family, and now Butch gets to. It's pretty much his birthright. So it's him getting what's rightfully his.
Absolutely. And we fast forward to Butch about to go into the boxing ring for his fight, and we already know that he's supposed to throw the fight in the 5th round, but we never see the fight. All we see is him at the beginning, and then him coming back from the fight, and he jumps out the window into a cab, the cab that's waiting downstairs. He jumps into a garbage dumpster, gets out, jumps into the cab, and they take off. That's what we see. But we eventually find out that he didn't throw the fight, that he beat the guy in the 1st round or something like that. He beat the crap.
Yeah, he beat him early. He beat him really early.
He beat the guy in the 1st round or something like that. And, of course, we all know what's going to happen because Marcellus Wallace has to be told that he's not there. He didn't throw the fight, and they got sending everybody out looking for him. And, the cab's waiting for him, and he didn't throw the fight. So he ends up shacking up at the River Glen Hotel, and his girlfriend is in there. Her name is Fabian, and he takes a shower. There's a scene of him taking a shower in the motel. But what we find out is he asks Fabian, where is the watch? And so we find out that Butch is the kid in the Captain Coons flashback scene. It's Butch. Butch is the kid in the scene because he asked her, where's the watch? And he gets really upset because that's the one prized possession of all the things she was supposed to get and take to the hotel. She didn't take the watch.
Yeah, and the whole reason he's in trouble, like, first of all, we gotta know that he didn't just beat the boxer, he actually killed the guy. He died in the ring, got Apollo created. But also, so what he did was he took the money that Marcellus paid him to throw the fight, had someone bet it on himself because he was supposed to lose that anyways, and then he just got a super big payday. So yeah, now the mob is pissed at him. They really want him, and the one thing that he actually wanted. He even said, like, I told you you can burn the rest, but I wanted that watch. And now he doesn't have it. So he literally got to go back to his place where chances are they will be waiting for him to try and get it back.
Absolutely. That watch meant so much to him, obviously. He and some time passes because he fell asleep in the room. He did. And so some
Yeah,
time
'cause I
passed.
think I think he wakes up the next day.
Yeah. So that tells you how exhausted and how tired all of this has been on Butch. But he does go back to the house. He kind of goes in a different direction, though. Kind of sneaks. He parks a couple streets away, sneaks through a park, goes through, checks out, sees if anybody's around, climbs through a fence, goes into the house, finds the watch, and somebody comes out of the bathroom, like you already alluded to, and it's Vincent. And Vincent's got a book with him, and Butch sees him and basically lays him out, shoots him with a silencer about 6 or 7 times.
Yeah, he shoots him with a gun that he stupidly left on the counter in the kitchen. Why you wouldn't take that in the bathroom with you, I have no idea. But you get the sense that Vincent, you really get the sense later, but you get the sense at this point that Vincent isn't the brightest. He's not the brightest bulb on the tree.
Yeah.
But yeah, like he has his watch back. And another little Easter egg that some people don't notice is that Butch actually turns on the radio when he's at his apartment. And if you listen, it talks about how there was a trophy robbery at Jack Rabbit Slim's. And you put two and two together, you realize that Vincent and Mia didn't actually win the trophy in the twist competition. They stole it and just ran.
I completely missed that. I'm glad you mentioned that. I completely missed that. Wow, that's see, you're paying attention where I'm not, Chance. But this is the movie that you nominated, so you should know this movie inside and out.
Oh yeah.
So he thinks he got away clean. He shoots Vincent. He wipes the gun clean, leaves it there. I think he left the gun there, right? He wiped it and left.
He did leave the gun. Yes, he did leave the gun.
And he's driving down the street, and would you know it, walking across the street with coffee and donuts is freaking Marcellus Wallace. I mean, of all the things.
What are the odds?
What are the odds of Marcellus Wallace walking across the street with coffee and donuts? Completely runs him over.
Yeah, like you can see it. You see him put his face. You just like he almost missed him. And it's like, oh no! And then they see each other, and yeah, he just like he literally tries just bolts, runs him over, but he gets into an accident on like the other side of the street.
Crashes into another car.
Yeah.
Gets a broken nose. There's a bunch of people come crowding around him, and this is where I said earlier we get a cameo from Kathy Griffin. She's one of the bystander that's around, and she'll say, I'll vouch for it that he ran you over, then ran into another car. Good job. And then so he gets up. He has a broken nose. He's all bloody. He runs away. He runs into a gun shop. And Marcellus Wallace runs after him, but then he jumps Marcellus Wallace in the gun shop. But the guy in the gun shop says, hold on there. Nobody's beating up no NIGGAS in my shop.
Yeah, he goes into the only pawn shop with a racist owner. And yeah, they both get like he's already been beating up Marcellus quite a bit. Then Butch gets knocked out, and they wake up, and they're in the basement of this place. They're both wearing ball gags. They're both all bloody, and then you call what is possibly the most memorable like small role in this movie, at least for me, one of at least, Zed. Zed, who is who was he played by?
Peter Green.
Peter Green, that's right, because he's been in a bunch of stuff. He was a really good actor.
Very good.
And he has just this presence to him. Like he's dressed in a cop uniform. You assume he's a cop, although you never really know. You never really know if he's like impersonating a cop or he actually is a cop. He's not driving a cop car, so you don't know. But yeah, he shows up, and you can tell like these guys are in some serious trouble. As soon as he starts doing this you're trying to decide who goes first, and he starts doing eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and the whole time you're sitting like, what's gonna happen? What's he gonna do?
And of course, he takes Marcellus Wallace to the other room, and we hear noises from the other room, but we don't know what's going on in the other room. And while they're doing that, Butch is escaping, and a guy in a friggin' bondage outfit comes in.
Oh, a gimp.
Yeah, this guy's in a leather bondage outfit, but Butch escapes and beats the crap out of this guy, and is about to walk out the door. And he, whatever conscience gets the better of him or whatever, he decides to go back to help out Marcellus Wallace, but he brings a freaking sword with him. And
he tests out a few weapons first. They can grab like a baseball bat, grab something else, can't remember what. But yeah, he settles on a samurai sword.
And he goes in the door, and Zed is doing Marcellus Wallace in the back door. And if you know what the back door is, I'm not going to
just like, whoa. I even watched that first, I was like, whoa.
And he's like, oh my God, I cannot believe it. And he slices the one guy up and he looks at Zed, and he looks at Marcellus Wallace, then says, I dare you to move. And of course, pick up the gun, try and pick up that gun. And he slices and dices Zed up. And, what happens is he is about to slice and dice Zed up. And what ends up happening is Marcellus Wallace grabs a gun, and he shoots him, puts a bunch of holes in him instead. That's it. He gave the right to go after Zed to Marcellus Wallace. That's right.
Didn't he shoot him like downstairs?
Yeah. The guns that were downstairs, he shoots them with one of the guns that are down there.
Yeah, he shoots him in the the sensitive area.
Yeah, he shoots him down below the belt.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of what he was doing. But then, of all the things, it took all this stuff to happen to Marcellus Wallace and Butch for them to basically come to terms with, okay, this is it. You can leave town. Don't come back to L.A. I'm not going to say nothing. You're free to go. You don't say nothing. I don't want to ever hear from you or see you ever again. Is that a deal? And he's like, yeah, that's a deal. And so, go ahead.
No, I was saying because at that point, he can't let the story get out, or he can't let the story get out. And the only people who are gonna know what actually happened are him, Butch, and Zed, who is gonna be he's gonna be dead pretty soon. So he's like, okay, this never happened. As long as you leave town, we're cool.
Yeah. And so he goes back to the hotel, gets Fabian, his girlfriend, takes a motorcycle bike back there, and they ride off into the sunset. We never see them again. Then we go fast forward back to the beginning of the movie. Well, the second scene of the movie where we had Vincent and Jules are in the apartment. Turns out there was a guy in the bathroom, and he comes running out, and they shoot him. He doesn't do nothing,
Well, he also unloads. He had a gun in the bathroom. He unloads 6 shots. They should have been dead, but he missed all 6 times.
I know. And isn't that crazy? And of course, Jules from here on out says it's divine intervention. And these guys, Jules and Vincent, are having this whole conversation about divine intervention. And then they grab Marvin, which is one of the guys that was in the room at the time. They grab Marvin, take him in the car. For what reason, I don't know, Chance. I don't know what the heck Vincent was doing. Did Jules run over a bump? We don't know. But Jules or Vincent shoots Marvin in the face with the gun.
Yeah, I just seen her talking about it. And then he turns it back, pointing the gun straight at Marvin. And then it's like, do you think God, you got to have an opinion. Do you think God came down from heaven and it looks like, but I can't tell. And then yeah, shoots Marvin in the face. They're in broad daylight. Anybody can see what just happened back there, and yeah, they're in some serious trouble.
And blood splatters everywhere. I mean, everywhere, all over their faces, all over the car. I mean, it's everywhere. And of course, Jules knows a guy, and he's in the valley or whatever. And he says, "All right, let's go to my buddy's place in the valley. He'll know what to do. He can help us out." And his buddy's name is Jimmy. And wouldn't you know it, Jimmy's played by Quentin Tarentino. And of course, Jimmy's like, "What the hell are you doing here?" You know, and Jules is like, "Man, I need some help. I need your help." And this is when we got a back and forth between Quentin Tarantino and Jules. "Don't effing Jimmy me, Jules."
Oh yeah, that's Quentin Tarantino's role in the movie, which he has a role in just about every one of his movies. But yeah, you pretty much find out that you pretty much learn that like he's got a wife who's going to be home very soon, and they have a dead guy and a blood spattered car in the garage that they need to get out before she comes back.
Absolutely. And of course, this is where we get a phone call to Marcellus Wallace, and he describes everything, what's going on. Jules does. And Marcellus, "Don't worry, the wolf is on his way." And I love this part. The wolf talks to Marcellus Wallace. He says, "It's a 30-minute drive, but I'll be there in 10 minutes. And on the screen, it says 10 minutes later.
Well, no, it's not even 10 minutes. It's like 9 minutes 47 seconds or something like that. It was under 10 minutes, but that just shows you this dude he's efficient.
Yeah, he's very, very efficient. And the wolf, Harvey Keitel, Winston is his real name, but they call him the wolf. And of course, he gets in there. He's like, "Hey guys, this is what we're gonna do." He showed me what happened. Da da da. Okay, Jimmy, do you have cleaning supplies? Do you have sheets? Do you have blankets? The darker, the better. Da da da. Vincent, Jules, you go clean the car. I'm going to go with Jimmy. We're going to get all the stuff. We're going to get the stuff to wrap up the body, this and that and the other. And Jimmy's like, "This is my most expensive stuff. These are nice linens and so forth and whatnot." And he's like, pulls out a wad of money and gives Jimmy a bunch of money, like a wad of money. And Jimmy's like, "Okay."
Yeah, like he gave him enough for, I think it was new sheets and like a new bed frame.
Yeah,
something like that. He gave him enough money to compensate him for a whole bunch of new stuff, for all the stuff they're about to ruin in his house.
That's right. And so these guys, basically, the wolf helps them out, and we find out why they were wearing those weird clothes that they weren't wearing at the beginning of the movie, t-shirts and shorts, is because they're Jimmy's clothes. And that's all he had. And he had to wear his clothes. The name of the car is a Chevy Nova, 1974. And of course, we already got that. Jimmy, and another funny scene, Winston or the wolf goes, "Jimmy, what do you think these guys look like?" And he goes, "A couple of dorks."
He's like, yeah, they're your clothes, mother.
And they're your clothes, of course. And then they take him to Monster Joe's Truck and Tow, where he meets a girl, and they go their way, and the wolf goes his way. I know that she's from Saturday Night Live, and I just can't think of the actress that was in it. She's in SNL alone, I think.
Oh crap! I can't remember.
Her name is Raquel in the movie.
Yeah, I can't remember who played her though.
And then while the guys are just driving, they're supposed to be driving back to wherever, we know where they end up at. But in the meantime, they decide, what the hell, we'll go get some breakfast.
Right.
And like I said before, the beginning of the film is the end of the film, and you get the whole hold-up scene. Vincent goes into the bathroom, and Jules is just sitting there, and that's when Tim Roth's character, they call him Ringo. I mean, Sam Jackson's character of Jules calls him Ringo. That's not his name.
No, it's not.
Then
He's called that because he's British.
Yeah. Her name was, I believe, Yolanda. The girlfriend's name was Yolanda. And of course, he's getting the money out of the thing. He gets the manager and da-da-da-da. But then, I don't know what it is. He says, hey, everybody, give me your wallet. He goes over to Jules. And what a mistake that was. Jules gives him his wallet. Here you go. Here's my wallet. But then he's got to get greedy. Ringo's got to get greedy. He says, what's in the suitcase? And this is where we end up finding him saying, okay, what's in the suitcase? He opens the suitcase. We get the suitcase. But then he basically tricks him, and he gets him the gun in his face. And he basically makes him sit down and, hey, we can resolve this. Pull my wallet out of the bag. What does your wallet look like? It's his bad mother effer on it. And when you know it, pulls that water out, and it's his bad mother effer on it.
Which, fun fact, is the same thing it says on his lightsaber in Star Wars. Yeah.
So, there's so many callbacks within the film, within other things that Quentin Tarantino does with other. So it's neat how the film has so many different callbacks, but they basically resolve the situation because Vincent comes out and he's got a gun on Yolanda. And then he basically says, look, I'm going to give you $1,500. Walk out the door. You got the bag full of other money from the register, the other wallets, everything is fine. I've turned over a new leaf. I should have killed you by now. I could have, if it was, and he tells him the whole Ezekiel 25:17 thing. This is the second time he uses it. And that's when Ringo, Tim Roth, realizes this man is not messing around. What do you got to say about all that?
Yeah, and it's when he starts talking about that in that scene is that you understand why he gives that speech every time, is because I think he used to view himself as the shepherd in that story. Or wait, no, I'm sorry. His gun was the shepherd. It's all based on how he viewed himself in that story. And after that whole divine intervention, he's like, okay, maybe I'm not the good man. Maybe I'm the evil man. And this is my tear. This is the poison I used to steer away the people from the path of the light. But he's like, I'm really trying hard to be the good man. So just take the money, walk away, and just take the money, walk away, and we'll be done. That's it.
And they walk out of the diner, and very quickly right behind them, both Vincent and Jules put their guns and their beach shorts. They got the briefcase, and they walk out the door. That's when we see, they walk into the bar with Marcel as well. So we know all the scenes have been tied up. All the storylines have been tied up. And the question I ask, this is coming, Chance. This book is based on this series of videos that we do are based on a book by Robert Osborne, and him and a bunch of folks nominated a bunch of films called the 52 Must-See Movies and Why They Matter. And in season 1, myself and some friends did all the movies. And so we went off of the book because I thought there was more than just 52 essential films. And so I convinced you guys, or I asked if you guys would like to be a part of this series of videos in season 2, and you nominate some films. And the question that I ask is, what is so essential? Why is Pulp Fiction a must-see for everybody out there watching films, maybe who has not seen Pulp Fiction, but sees this video and is like, wow, what they are talking about is really cool and awesome, and I want to watch this movie. why is it such an essential movie for newcomers or people that may not have heard about Pulp Fiction?
I think the whole reason is because Pulp Fiction really just started. It started so much. It reignited some careers that were seen as dead at the time. It reignited brand new careers of new stars. It popularized the trend of nonlinear storytelling. It like a lot of people who are screenwriters now take inspiration from the dialogue from Tarantino movies, particularly this one. This movie just influenced so much. It's one of the most influential films of the decade of the 90s. And I think that a lot of films take inspiration from Pulp Fiction, which is why I think that as film fans, people should check it out.
No, you're absolutely right. This did start a thing about nonlinear film. I mean, we got another film on the 52 must-see movies this season, Memento, which is another nonlinear film that we're going to be talking about, and that's by Christopher Nolan. It also has, if you watch other Quentin Tarantino, he uses a lot of the same actors over and over again, and specifically he uses Uma Thurman again a couple times, and he almost every one of his movies he's got Samuel L. Jackson. So
yeah, just about all of them.
Yeah, and so this is really he wrote True Romance and he directed Reservoir Dogs, but this is really the breakout film for him, and a lot of people think this is just his absolute masterpiece of filmmaking. He hasn't made a better film than Pulp Fiction. I believe he has. That's just my opinion, but we're talking about this film, and I'm here because I believe that this is a great film, and the whole nonlinear storyline and everything. In the year 1994, I've already talked about one film from 1994, and we have another film on the 52 must-see movies this year. That's going to be from 1994. So this is a really breakout year for a lot of great films of different kinds of films. And I think that Pulp Fiction is such an essential film for so many reasons. Just the acting, the dialogue, the script, some of the most quotable quotes of all time. And I haven't even looked on the 100 AFI's 100 quotes of all time. I'm sure at least 2 or 3 of these from this film.
Actually, I just checked the list. No, not a single quote from Pulp Fiction made the top 100 list. But hold on, I didn't see when the actual list was made. Oh no, it was way past time. But no, nothing. Nothing from Pulp Fiction actually made the top 100 list.
Well, when they do this list again, I will be shocked if at least 3 from this film or 2 from this film aren't on there, because they're just so iconic, such iconic quotes in movie history. And you could just walk down the street, and if you say the movie Pulp Fiction, people will mention a few different scenes, a few different quotes, and that's when you know a film is transcended and it has become essential watching for everybody. And there's a lot of things, even at film school, people. And I know you're in film school. Has this film come up in film school, or as a added question to this, or no?
We touched on it. We've touched on all screenwriting aspects, all nonlinear aspects, and why why it's so why it works here. And this movie is actually a great teaching tool for anybody who wants to learn about screenwriting or storytelling in more unconventional ways than just standard. I think if you want to see what it's like to try something different, this is a great thing to look at.
Absolutely right. And I'm glad you nominated Chance. I'm glad we had an opportunity to talk about it, because it really is a great, great film. Where can you be found, my friend?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ChanceWars_91. Find me here, Full Metal Media. I host Full Metal 5 here. You can check out my YouTube channel, Chance the Critic, and check out the podcast that I do with my buddy Russell Howell, Notorious by Chance, whatever podcast you're found.
And you can find me at Dan Skipbound on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. Also, if you want to read my reviews, my written movie reviews, you can find me on cinesportstalk.com. That's CINESPORTSTALK, cinesportstalk.com. So for Chance and myself, good night.